Anyways. Speaking of sales, I mean, well, you're talking about Hormozy, right? Did you actually go through that course?
No, I haven't. But it's on my tabs somewhere in the like 60 tabs that I have.
Has there been any supplemental pieces of education outside of the actual doing? Like, I mean, whether it's through a mentor or whatever it may be, that, I mean, like a book you've read or like someone within real estate content you constantly watch where you like kind of get a little bit of insight and then apply it to what you're doing?
Yeah. So at my brokerage, we don't have much sales training. We don't have much. So we got an older guy, and he's okay with me saying that, is my managing broker. So he doesn't help us as much as an other brokerage would. So I got to sort of look out on YouTube and other platforms to help myself with sales, help myself with being a better agent, social media. So there's a guy, his name's Brian Corelli or something on YouTube. And he's strictly for real estate, and he's cold calling. So I learned a lot from him, and it's been really huge for me. Like I cold called now because it's winter. Sometimes during the summer I door knock, but right now it's winter. So like, for example, I used one of his tips like 2 days ago. He mentions to sort of be okay with not having the deal and say that, so that the other person feels like, oh, he's not so pushy, he's not so salesy like the export lady, right? So
Yeah.
So one thing that he'd say was, if this doesn't work for me and you, we can shake hands and leave as friends. I said that like 2 days ago, and we're planning on getting the listing for the lease next week. So it's
there we go.
Exactly, right? So that's somebody that I really aspire to be. So watching his content for free is really helpful, especially because I don't have that information around me, so I do have to seek it out. Yeah,
for sure. And it's also, do you also see deep into the future with it, where you're like, okay, like quite literally, if we do leave this and we're just friends, you're 20, right?
I'm 20.
Yeah, and like 3, 5, 7, 10, 20, 30 years, that might be a customer for me at some point later.
Yeah.
So if you just deposit goodwill over time, not in any like transactional way, but if you just build those relationships with people that, who knows, maybe they recommend you for their father or their sister or their cousin, whoever it might be, like that's when like it just makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know why it doesn't seem like the strategic way to go for some people. Like the other export person that we were talking about before this.
Yeah. I mean, they know at some point they can maybe you'll want to get a plan.
Yeah, right.
You'll buy the plan from him.
Never
at some point, that guy himself, or like you said, his family is going to want to buy or sell a house, and then
exactly
they know a realtor. I have a question though.
Mm-hmm.
What you said you like door knock or you'll like cold call. Like what is that like for like realtor? Obviously, I'm assuming you don't like knock on a door and be like, hey, you want to sell your house? Like I got you.
I do. No, I don't.
Like what is cold calling for like a realtor?
Yeah. So for me right now, we're cold calling strip mall owners because one of my clients just recently sold his restaurant. I'm saying this smoothly because I use it every single day. This is my pitch. Hi, John. This is Fernando with Alexander Realty. I was calling about your property at 123 Main Street. I got a client who just recently sold his restaurant in the area, and he's looking to put his money into a real estate investment. I was looking at your property at blah, blah, blah. Have you guys ever thought about potentially selling, or do you have any of the strip malls in the area? And then I wait, and they start talking. Oh, no, we're not interested. Wait, he has a restaurant? We have a space available. No, he's not looking to put his restaurant, but I'd love to list it. We can put it on the CoStar, which is owned by LoopNet, and everybody in the world will see it. So there's ways for me to still get business outside of just the pitch. But I like that pitch a lot because it's not closed-minded. It's very open. I give them a lot of information. They can take it in, and it's not, hey, John, do you want to sell your property? They can just say no. And then I'm like, okay, right? So I like that pitch. And then for door knocking, I knocked on 1,500 doors in Winnetka.
I watched that reel on the way over here. He was like, check out his Instagram, watch the reels. I'm like driving, and I watched that one.
Damn, Winnetka, you run into a spectrum of personalities there, right?
Yeah. A lot of them were older fellas, and they were really nice people. I got a lot of, you're a little young. I am. It's true. It's pretty obvious when I'm knocking on a door. I didn't have any of this, or this. So it was like, I was 18 years old when I was knocking on doors. It was just me giving them a market update. And some of them were like, oh, yeah, great. But what I made the biggest mistake with that was when you're doing that, you got to continue hitting those doors. So they see you and they recognize you out on the street, walking their dog, at church. You have to really be in that neighborhood and kill it in that neighborhood for them to trust you, because you're young, and most people who are older, have a lot of money, they already have a good network of a top realtor, a top attorney, top accountant. So they're going to use them. So some 18-year-old, it was a very, 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 it was a Hail Mary for me. But I wanted to go for it because I saw, honestly, somebody else on YouTube did that. So I was like, screw it, let's try it. So I did 1,500. It didn't work at all. So I started doing Dunning, this area, and now I'm sending newsletters through email. And now I'm planning on going back in the summer and knocking on the same door so they see me twice. So, and then again, every quarter, right? So I'm trying to build that door knocking as well outside of just family deals, referral deals, because that's new money basically for me.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is, so I actually had a door-to-door sales job this summer too.
Oh yeah?
I was setting solar appointments.
Awesome.
And a little contrast I see between the two is it was a little bit harder for me to do because I'm selling a product that isn't myself or my product, right? And so at times it was a little bit, they'll ask me a question and it would kind of challenge my belief in the product. And because I'm not the one that's actually making it or supplying it, maybe I didn't have as much confidence as I would want to because it's not me, right? But with you, it's different. You are actually, you're like, hey, like this is me. I'm the only person you're going to talk to with this. How much easier or harder, I guess, did that make it when you were at those doors having those conversations, knowing that it's you that you're selling, I guess?
Yeah, it's really not an easy thing to start knocking on doors or cold calling, because I still kind of believe in the back of my head that I am disrupting their day, that I am sort of annoying them. But when you go and you knock on doors, this is how I make money, you know? So I have to just change that mindset into I'm helping them. I'm providing them with the market update that they can potentially use. Or if they do need to sell, I'm at your door, right? So you have to change the mindset, even if in the back of your head you do think that you're sort of ruining their day. But in reality, they're not, because they're going to forget you in like 5 minutes. So it's okay. So that's sort of the mindset shift that you got to go with.
For sure. Well, okay, so we're talking a little bit about you as a realtor and door knocking and cold calling and all these things. But could you provide us with a little bit of a timeline on when your real estate career started? I know it was 17, right?
Yeah.
At St. Pat's. Yeah, so what exactly did that look like? When did it start? How did you get into it? And maybe provide us with a couple checkpoints along the way of telling the story.
Sure. So, yeah, I started at 17 when I was still at St. Pat's. I was a senior in high school, so I would go through the regular day through Zoom because it was COVID. And then at 3:30, I'd get to the office, and I was an intern at that point, so I was writing contracts. I was going to showings with the other broker at my brokerage. I was going to inspections, closing. So it was just a good way to sort of put the seeds into my real estate career. And then after that, I got my license at 18, like a month after I turned 18. I had to take the classes, which take about a week and a half. And then I went through that, and I think it took me like 2 months for me to get a lease done, an apartment lease. And then it took me from August all the way to January to get my first sale, which was land. And it's still the most expensive land sold in River Grove. It's like $86,000 for like 2,000 or 3,000 square feet.
Damn.
Wow.
There we go.
I got, somebody called me like a month ago. I mean, a month after I closed that, it was an appraiser. And he's like, man, all the other comparables are much lower than yours. And I was like, oh, great. Thank you so much. I was like, sure. Because sometimes appraisers will call you to see why the discrepancy was so big. So that's why.
I see.
Okay.
What confidence is that infusing you? Because if that's your first one, and then somebody's telling you like, hey, like this is bigger than we've seen. How did you pull it off? You're like, damn, like I'm 18, man. What did that do for you at the beginning?
Man, confidence to the sky. So I took that and started running with it in a sense. I started doing a lot of cold calling before I did door knocking. So I cold called expireds and for sale by owners. So what expireds are when you sign a listing for a house, you're going to have, say, 6 months, sometimes a year, depending on what you guys agree to have it on the market, have your sign in front. And when it expires, it shows up on the MLS, which is the multiple listing service. What you see on Zillow is what we see. So I was calling the people that just expired, and I was basically giving them a pitch. Hey, it's Fernando with Alexander Realty. I see that you're probably just expired. When are you guys interviewing agents? It didn't really work at all. So that stopped. But I called everybody from like 2022 back to 2020 that expired. So I was trying to kill it. It didn't really work that well. You said... So, and then after that was the door knocking, and that's sort of where I started picking up steam. I got people that were looking to lease. Oh, my niece is looking to lease something, or they actually do want to sell their property, and then I can go with that. Yeah.
Was there like a specific moment you think that so you mentioned how like the door knocking is where you kind of like started to pick up speed with it after like, so that was after you had like your first sale and everything. Was there like a specific moment in there that you felt like, okay, now I'm starting to like get on track with what I really want to do?
Yeah. Well, something that it's interesting. Andrew Tate actually said was, if you're at like the bottom in a sense in your business and you're not making any money, you're unmotivated, maybe a little sad because you're not killing it yet. Once you start making money, that all goes away, because now you see a way out. You see it actually works, and then you start to kill it once you make money.
Yeah, and you got that pretty quick, right? Compared to a lot of other realtors, right? So that was what, at least that first land sale, that was your first sale was the land, right?
Yep.
And that was in January. Did you say? January, and you had officially gotten your license in what month?
In August.
Yeah.
Of the previous.
Okay, so it actually was a pretty long
Yeah.
time. And then also, I mean, during COVID, you were already getting prepared in high school for a long time before that. But was there at any point there when, so like you're working, whatever, you're going into the office every day, and when you don't see results, that was 8 months then, right? Somewhere around there.
August? No, you're thinking April.
No, like when you started going into the office in high school.
Yeah, so it was Super Bowl, February, until August when I got my license.
I see. So it was pretty much almost a full year, right? February on, they're kind of making all these deposits, like these blind deposits where you're like, this will pay off one day, this will pay off one day. It was probably easy in those months to be like, okay, like, damn, I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing any returns yet. Did you ever encounter some of that friction of like, hey, like, maybe I want to do this or I want to do that? Or was it just always real estate and you just had this confidence that would work out?
Yeah, so my goal is always to be an investor, and that's why I chose my brokerage, because my managing broker is a big-time investor. He's a Cuban guy, born in Cuba. Fidel happened, went to Miami for like a week, came to Chicago. He was cleaning plates at the Hilton Hotel in downtown Chicago until he started a jean business with his father. So funny enough, his father was not interested in jeans so much. I think he was interested in like skirts or dresses, one of the two. So he sent his son, my managing broker, to New York. He was like, go get these skirts, go get these dresses. He goes and he's like, no, but Dad, jeans are the big thing. Like this was, 1960s or something. Jeans are the big thing. They're going to come up. So he went to New York and bought the $20,000 that his dad gave him in jeans. Came back to Chicago. He's like, you might think I screwed up, but no, these jeans are going to work. He sold them all in like a week. And then that's when he noticed the jean business is big business. And then they just killed it into so much money that they needed to put it into investment real estate so they can get debt, and then they get lower taxes, pretty much. It's sort of analytical and a lot of numbers, but it works out really well to go from a business owner with a lot of money into real estate. And then that's how it grew into 300,000 square feet of industrial warehouse space, and it's worth about $20 million now.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Damn. So they killed it.
He's a grinder.
Yeah. So I take it did you have him as a mentor?
Yeah.
Okay, I see. And then that's what instilled that, hey, like this is all going to work out mindset.
Exactly, yeah.
So how important was that for you? And I guess how did you meet him too?
Yeah, so I met him from my mom, actually. She worked at a bank called Banco Popular in Melrose Park, and he was the owner of the building. So he would always, because he had an account at the bank, so he'd go in, and everybody loved him. He was giving out Christmas gifts. So this guy's charismatic, humble, great guy, always putting out gifts, and my mom knew him for all that time. I was really young. Like we'd see him at Costco when I was a kid and stuff. So
You always see everybody at
I know,
Costco.
right?
That really is how I see people I haven't seen for years in there.
I know.
Continue.
I love Costco, but so I gave him a call after many years, and somehow he remembered me. He was like, "Oh, the kid with the glasses." I didn't always have contacts. Oh, the kid with the glasses. I was like, "Yeah." Because he had worked with my brother a little bit. My brother wasn't so interested in that, so he was like, "Yeah, come by." So I think the next day I went over to the office, and we just started talking about what I was interested in terms of stocks, because he had a hedge fund as well, stocks, real estate. And he just started teaching me things, gave me books. I still read to this day, 10 pages a day. So it comes out to like a book a month. So he just started teaching me. And I also learned a lot from the other broker that I have, David. So yeah, mentorship is huge, in my opinion. If you want to have a big business, you have to know somebody that's willing to give you the information that you would have learned in years. He can just give it to you in seconds.
Yeah, mentorship is something big that a lot of people have talked about. But have you like gotten the chance? I'm assuming you want to in the future, obviously mentor someone, since like your mentor was huge to you.
You gotta pay it back.
Yeah, pay it forward.
Right, exactly.
Have you like gotten a chance to do that yet, or how? Yeah.
Yeah. So some people in my family want to learn about investment real estate. I've also helped very close people to in my family invest in real estate, and it's grown a lot. It's really something that people want to learn, but they just don't have the information. And luckily I can provide that for them because of my managing broker. So I'm indebted to him billions of dollars, truly, because he's helped me so much. And he's helped my family, he's helped my friends, right?
Yeah. I also think like some of the, like I was watching some of like your Instagram reels on the way over here. I think those are like kind of helping like put out the information on there. Cause I think it was like the most recent one that you posted. It was about like how
FHA loan?
FHA.
Yeah. It was like, it like told you the minimum amount or whatever. And it was like a credit score of like 580 can get a loan or whatever for a house. And I get thinking about that now. That's kind of like the same thing, except you're using like Instagram as a platform to kind of broadcast that out to however many people want to watch it. But touching on,
Yeah, so my guy John Volpe was the guy who was there. He's my mortgage lender. If I ever get anybody that wants to buy a house, go to John. He's a top producer. He does over $50 million in mortgages every year. So he's always killing it every year, so I trust him wholeheartedly. And he was the guy that was telling you guys that in the FHA video. And yeah, you mentioned FHA. So FHA is pretty much the easiest way to get into real estate for multifamily, which is 1 to 4 units, or just a single family house, because all you need is 3.5% down, which if you're going to put the average house in America is $300,000. So it's about $10,500, which is,
Damn, that's nothing.
Yeah, $10,000.
and most people think you need 20% down, and that's wrong. So there is closing costs that you have to account for, but for the most part, it's way cheaper than what people think.
Is it possible, in theory, if would we be? I've seen. Okay, one second. I've seen that in comment sections under videos like that where they talk about FHA loans, that they're harder to get than you think. Is that true?
No, they're harder to get than conventional, because so say that you're selling your property and you get 2 offers. One is conventional, one is FHA. They're at the same price, same everything, even down payment. Say they're both at 5%. One thing that's different with FHA than conventional is that there has to be an FHA inspection. So something that I remember is when you break glass in an FHA house, it has to sort of like spider web instead of breaking in big shards. So little tiny things like that. And if it doesn't work out, either the owner's going to have to pay to change that, or the person that's applying for the FHA loan is going to have to change that. So it just brings an extra issue that the owner wouldn't want. So they'd probably rather go with the conventional guy.
I see.
Is there a reason that FHA like loans are so much?
Yeah. So
like, I guess more tedious or like
right.
whatever than like a conventional one.
So it's sort of seen as a way to help people who weren't able to get conventional loans. So you need you get a lower credit score minimum.
What credit score was it in? Can you just go through
580?
Damn, that is low. Okay, continue.
You guys probably have higher credit scores than 580. So it's 580. I think it's 56.99% loan to income.
Yeah.
So it's very, very lenient compared to a conventional loan.
Okay.
I see. So in theory, for us kids that are in college, and I mean we're in apartments, but we do know some friends that have their own houses, that they're just splitting rent. In theory, would it be very smart for them to actually apply for an FHA loan? Because I have a friend down there that actually house hacked. He paid for his own. Well, I think he took out an FHA, and then he also had 4 or 5 other people also staying in the house that were paying him rent that was going towards the loan. Is that a no-brainer for kids like us to do? I mean, obviously, it sounds all ideal, right? Things have to fall into place. But is there any, I guess, kind of asterisks that maybe somebody might not be aware of?
Yeah, so sometimes. So I'd assume that the guy that had his mom co-sign it probably wasn't him because he has to have some sort of income. So one thing that I love about multifamilies, so once you get over 5 units, it's commercial, and you need about 25% down, 30% down. So that's where the big boys play. If you want to go with multi-unit, it's 1 to 4 units, and that's where everybody can play, right? Conventional loan, FHA loan. So what I love about that is that when you buy, say, a 4-unit, you can use and say that it's all rented out. And actually minus that, say that 3 of them are rented out, you want to live in one of the units, house hack. You can use 70% of the income of the 3 units into your income. So say that you make $30,000 a year and the income that produces from the building is an extra $30,000. To your lender, you make $60,000. So you get to apply for bigger property with that. So that's probably what he did. He said, hey, I'm going to have all these tenants, which are my friends, and they're all going to pay X amount. So that might have helped him get the loan.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, it's like these things that I mean, okay, right now in this conversation, gears are turning. I'm like, wow, like this is fascinating. This seems like so smart. Like, why would I not try to do something like it? But I feel like the reality is just so many people just don't. Even if it makes sense, they just don't do it. You know?
Yeah.
Because in theory, I mean, we probably have friends at school that are that can't afford something like that. But like they just don't, right? And I mean, obviously there's other variables that go into it. You have to put effort into it. Effort needs to go to other places. But still, that's interesting to me that it's like, I don't know.
It reminds me of the thing we were talking about earlier with like the simple but not easy. Like it sounds simple, right? I mean, buy a place with a loan, get people to rent it out, use that income, put it into something else. But obviously, it's a lot more than just that, right?
Yeah. How many years have you guys been in college at this point?
So, well, you're a year older than me,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, yeah. So, like
So we're the same age. So
Yeah.
we're both sophomores, and then
Perfect. So you guys have been in college for 2 years. So interesting enough, people don't really know this. If you go to college for 2 years, they can count that as work history. And once you get your job offer, they'll use that as your income. So in a sense, with just completing college, which is just 2 years, you don't have to do the 4-4, and then having a job offer, you can purchase a house with that. Simple as that.
As in like my tuition as my income.
No. They'll use the job offer as your income.
So however much
So say that you
is offered by the job.
Correct. So say that you finished your 4-year degree, you're going to work in finance at some company and they're going to pay you $80,000 and they give you the job offer. So you always have to get a job offer when you try and get a job, right? And then they're going to say Austin's going to get $80,000, Microsoft, whatever.
Bro,
Right.
we'll see.
So the lender's gonna see that $80,000, and then they're gonna be able to use that 2 years of school as work history. So that's just an added thing. You can use school as work history.
Ooh, that's
So
interesting.
does that like help you get the loan at like a lower interest rate then?
So you need work history to get a loan.
Oh, okay.
That's
okay.
one of the
So
requirements.
it just fills one of the requisites.
Oh,
okay. I see. That's interesting.
So that way you could theoretically get a loan and buy a house right out of college.
Boom.
Okay.
That's interesting. The conversation we're having right now kind of reminds me of, I mean, what you were hinting at. Like, I mean, we don't really know much. I'm in a real estate club at school, but that's just so different than actually working in the field, right? But when you can sit down with somebody that knows a lot about the field, all like the lingo, all the little nuances, all like the kind of like things that are hidden within everything. I mean, it's great for us because we get to, as you were saying, with your mentor, you get to hear what they learned in 10 years in just a matter of one conversation. But like one more thing I want to touch on with the mentor thing. So we're in college and we're blessed with, I mean, U of I is a great school. We're blessed with a lot of opportunities pretty much just to meet awesome mentors, right? And it's a blessing in a lot of ways. But there are a lot of people like yourself that didn't go to college, and it might be harder to find those people, right? They're not as handed to you. So I guess what would be some of your advice to somebody that is looking for a mentor that they need in their field that maybe didn't go to college? How would they find and reach out to those people?
You got to get in those rooms, in rooms with people who have succeeded in your field, whether that's, like you said, a club, whether that's it can be so big. So something, it's in a sense talking about what you're talking about. If you want to get into luxury real estate, you got to be around people who own luxury real estate. You got to go to the country club. You got to go to their gym. You got to be around that area for them to know you. So it's the same thing. If you're a mechanic and you want to be the best mechanic ever, you got to go and learn from a mechanic. So you got to go to the top mechanic in your city, say, hey, I want to learn from you. I'll do the work for free. So I'll be your assistant that answers the phones for the first month, and then maybe I can start working on some cars, and then at some point you're going to be at his level, and then you got to find somebody that's higher than him, or else you're going to stay at that level, and then you can just continue to go up.
That's interesting. I think that's one of the reasons why, okay, I'm gonna zoom out, but it'll make sense, why like a lot of people like that try drop shipping fail, or that try all of these things that are, I guess, these trendy jobs or side hustles, is they're never around anybody else that's doing them. Because, I mean, if you're around, like we have one of our friends that we're probably going to have on in the future that is very successful at drop shipping. And if you're around him, like, do you really think you'll fail? If he's teaching you everything that he's done to succeed, do you really think you'll fail? Probably not, right? And I think that's something a lot of people go wrong with at the beginning, is they just don't surround themselves with the people that are succeeding in that job.
I think it's because people think it's hard to surround yourself around those people. And
do you think that's what it is?
I think it is. I think people think it's like you said, people think it's, oh, I have to go to this like fancy country club or like this fancy gym just to find these people, and then maybe they think like if I go up to him and ask him like, hey, can I just like come shadow you for a day? You don't need to pay me anything. The person might say no, or like they just like don't really want to do it just because they think it's hard to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's what kind of stops people from like getting like in contact or in close.
Yeah. Funny enough though about that, I can almost guarantee you, in any field, if you ask enough people, hey, can I mentor you? Can I shadow you for a month for free? I'll do the dirty work, and then you can just teach me some things on the side. At some point somebody will say yes.
Yeah.
Because they need that extra help, and it's free. Hell yeah. Heck yeah.
And a lot of people just want to give back. I mean, unless things change,
totally.
Right? But when I get older, I'm gonna want to give back. Like if I had some high school kid, if I'm a realtor and I had some high school kid come to me like say, hey, like I really want to be where you're at one day, I'd be like, hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome. And you're gonna find one of those people. I feel like there's a lot of them out there. It's again just like sales, a numbers game.
Yeah, and it's not like you're really being an inconvenience to them, unless you're actually like a prick, like and don't want to be like someone.
Cut that out. What the?
Yeah. Like yeah.
No, that's funny.
Yeah, I want to one more thing here. There's a kid named Nick Gershon. He's killing it on Instagram. He is in Naperville. He's a Naperville agent. And the way that he found his mentor was he looked at the top agents in Naperville, and then I'm sure you've seen him.
Wait, is he wholesaling?
No.
Oh,
you're talking about another kid.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Though
I know who you're talking
it's
about.
Like wholesaling in Chicago.
Yeah.
Is he the kid who like goes on Instagram and like will like show a house and be like this beautiful like Naperville estate or something?
Probably.
There's some kid who does that. He's also really young.
Yes.
That's Nick. Like couldn't be over. Like 23.
He's 21, I think. I went to an event with him like a month ago, and he was telling me how he found his mentor. And what he did was he went, I think it was the top 10 Naperville agents, and then he just sent a cold email saying, I'm new to the business, I want to learn, can I sort of work under you? And one actually responded to him, and that's the one that he stuck with. The one that responded to him does over 50 deals transactions as a real estate agent. I think flips 13 houses on average, and he has 25 units, apartment units. So you never know who's going to say yes, so it's worth taking the risk.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is that like something you're obviously right now in, you said this is like called Dunning?
Yeah. I live in Dunning. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know the.
They're from Niles, bro. He thinks he's too good for us.
Niles, Morton Grove.
Oh,
Right.
my bad. Notre Dame is Niles.
No, whatever.
St. Pat's is in Dunning. Go ahead.
Yeah, whatever. So you're obviously in this area right now. Is that like, do you plan to kind of expand into maybe like Chicago, like downtown? Because I know that's like
that's
a lot of.
I would love to go downtown and be like a full-time agent in downtown. That's like the coolest thing ever. Walking the streets and going to showings. So the only way that I can do that is to start marketing in that area, whether it's through social media, Instagram. I go in those places and start recording the area, or do something like Nick Gershon. He started with mall videos. He started with this is the hip mall, right? This is the hip. It's got export. It's built in however many. It's got this much square footage. It's got these big businesses, and then he goes and records it. So I can do the same thing in downtown and start generating business like that. Or I can buy leads, and there's different ways for me to get into that market. But right now, I've been sticking around in this area. I love to go to downtown, though.
Okay. So, like, my question with that, like, I would follow up was, so you mentioned, like, the guy on Instagram, he, like, reached out to a bunch of, like, Naperville realtors or whatever. Is that, like, something you would also, like, plan on doing then for, like, Chicago realtors, I guess? Or is that more just, like, a marketing thing? And, like, once you get bigger, it's obviously, those properties are obviously way more expensive, so... Is that something like that?
Yeah, so I always say get a mentor for everything, right? So my mentor now for real estate, the older guy is more of an investor mindset, so he's never really been an agent so much. The other guy was more of an agent that I learned under, David. So I guess in a sense, I probably would have to learn from somebody in downtown to get more experience in that area, the different buildings, different amenities certain buildings have. I've gotten that from David, but in a sense, it would be smart for me to go and do the same thing over in downtown.
I know you mentioned social media, right? And if you wanted to go downtown, that's how you'd do it. We were talking about it earlier, how at one point what was like the thing that really set out a product, or like what made a product like the thing that most people bought, is now just kind of like the bar. Like that's what it needs to have for somebody to buy. And you said that that's been the case with real estate and realtors now. That was something that was pretty interesting. Would you just be able to talk about that a little bit more? I mean, contextualize the audience, because obviously they weren't here for the conversation.
Yeah.
And I guess what the future of social media and real estate looks like.
Yeah, so another lender that I know, his name is Justin Rodriguez. If you look him up on Instagram, he posts maybe like 2 times a day. Kills it on Instagram. He's about to hit like 4,000 followers or something. But one of the things that he says that's super true is I can go and knock on doors, I can go and cold call, but at the end of the day, I'm going to call one person at a time, one door at a time. When I post a video, he gets thousands of views. So he's talking to thousands of people in a sense. So it's a way for him to really leverage social media to get viewed by tons of different people, tons of different home buyers, and explode his business instead of doing the manual labor. And he loves it that way. But I love social media because I do a lot of first-time home buyer videos, right? Talking about FHA and stuff like that. So when I meet somebody out in the world, I typically get their Instagram, and then they'll follow me back, and then they can start watching the videos. So it's almost like I'm working without me working. And it just sort of convinces them that I'm knowledgeable, that they know me, they like me, they trust me at the end of the time that they watch all my videos. So that's what I use it for.
Does it ever feel like I'll elaborate on this. Does it ever feel like you're kind of shouting into the abyss, in the sense that when we're at school and we post episodes, we're around so many kids our age and the majority of our audience all the time. So we'll hear, hey, I saw this, or like I saw that, and like I like what you guys did there. And it's cool because you kind of get that instant feedback, right? But when we come home for a break, whether it was summer or winter now, we're not around them. We're not around them every day. The majority of our days are probably spent alone, right?
Yeah.
And we don't hear it as much. But, I mean, today I was at the gym and somebody said, hey, like I've seen you've been doing your podcast. But they don't they don't comment, they don't share, they don't do any of those things. And it's very easy to be like, damn, like who is actually seeing this? But you do get reminded of it every like now and then, right? So does it ever feel like you're kind of just shouting into the abyss? You're like, who's really seeing this?
Yeah, the videos that get no views.
Yeah.
Those are the ones where you're shouting into the abyss in a sense. But yeah, even if, like you said, some don't comment, some don't like, some might even not follow. But interesting enough, there's a story that Justin Rodriguez, one of the lenders that I know, used. He said that one day he was driving in his car, and they ended up crashing into whatever, right? And there was somebody that had driven past that noticed his car because his license plate says cafecito, which means coffee in Spanish. And the guy DM'd Justin saying, "Hey, I saw that you were in a car crash. I hope that everything's all right." They had never interacted. He had just seen that his license plate was cafecito and that he knew who Justin was. And then he just saw it. Oh, that's him. I'll DM him to see if he's okay. It's almost like he's his friend. And they've never interacted. That was the first time they interacted.
That really makes you think, man, because I feel like that is kind of another way of saying what like I kind of just said, where you don't really see the fruits of your labor when it comes to social media a lot. Right. You don't know the relationships you're building with somebody behind the screen because you never really have those face-to-face interactions with them. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, and like for you, people may not be liking or commenting, but say they need to buy a house, they know they've seen your reel or seen your post, and then reach out to you.
Mm-hmm. I had people DM me. I think on Thursday, I got somebody say I want to either rent an apartment in downtown or buy a condo. So yeah. I don't know him. He just DM'd me.
Yeah.
So it works at the end of the day.
Yeah. And what also is pretty cool is I take it as I don't know, if you find yourself at Elmwood Park Fest or something like that, and you're walking past somebody from grammar school or someone that you haven't seen in years. They're like, "Hey, like I've seen like the content you make. Like, oh, like how's that going?" And you're like, "Damn, like I didn't. Who are you? Like I did not think you were seeing this at all." And it's those moments as like it's kind of like damn. And one other thing that I guess I want to talk about a little bit is what I'll notice when I'll repost some podcast clips, or mostly when I repost some podcast clips, I'll see my follower count go down a few, right? And then I'll see it go back up a few. And at the beginning it was kind of easy to get in your head and be like, damn, you know. But then I started thinking of it as a reshuffling of the people in my circle, of the people who maybe not bad people, they're just not really aligned with like kind of the same things I want to do. And that, like, it's cool. But now the people that are in my circle now are the people that are on that same trajectory, or at least support the trajectory that I'm on. And that was also something that was pretty interesting to me as well in this process.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it happened as like directly for me, like with the whole followers going down. Yeah.
But I pay attention to every little number.
Yeah, no, but I think like something similar happened. I'll like go to the gym and see people from my high school, and I think they have no clue that I have a podcast. They're like, "Oh, how's your podcast going?" I'm like, "Oh, you know about it? Yeah, it's going great." Yeah.
It's weird, bro.
It's really weird because I mean, I guess I have it in my Instagram bio, but like we don't really repost about it or really advertise it that much because that's just not like what we're about. So it's just like weird when I see that people actually know about it, and I mean it's kind of cool when that interaction happens, and I'm sure it is like with the DMs for you. But yeah.
There's one last, I guess, kind of theme I want to touch on a little bit, which we were talking a little bit before, but this whole theme of being simple but not easy, right? And you see it for a lot of things, and honestly, it's the same for pretty much everything within business. If you stay consistent, if you stay patient, if you build relationships, and you do it for a long enough time, you are going to win, right? Yeah. And that's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. There's going to be days when somebody gets mad at you and you wanna cuss them out or something, but you got to hold back, right? And if you consistently make that decisions over a long enough time horizon, you're going to win, right? And we talk about real estate being under that umbrella of business, that is very much the case for you, right? So where have you seen real estate be simple in the sense of, okay, you got to follow this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step thing and kind of follow these commandments, but at the same time, it's not necessarily easy, right? So how do you see that in your career?
Yeah, so the easy stuff in my head is the stuff, honestly, that you see on social media, the showings, the inspections, the closings, because it's very 1, 2, 3. The difficult part is the stuff you don't see. It's the stuff, the door knocking, the cold calling, the following up, right? Once you get a cold lead, you got to turn it into a warm lead. How do you do that? By continuing to follow up. And that's the stuff that sucks, honestly. But that's what I tell people. I told the other broker at my brokerage is you have to start doing a certain amount of things every single day. And I do, depending on how many showings I have, depending on what I'm doing that day, I always set at least up to a certain 5 number for cold calls. So either it's 5, 10, 15, 25 cold calls. And if I don't do that, I feel horrible the rest of the day. And that's something that you got to lock in with, or else you're not going to move, because being an agent, being a salesperson is very outbound. You got to almost pray to God and thank God when somebody actually calls you and says, hey, I got a deal for you. It's never going to happen. It sometimes does, but most of the time you got to go and get it.
Damn.
It's about like implementing that into your daily lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Because I think we talked about this earlier too, right?
Mhm.
I mean, you technically work for yourself, but you have to treat yourself like an employee.
Exactly.
Stay accountable. And I guess that's like one of the only ways you can.
Yeah. And then for us in that same way, it's okay, I got it this video. Maybe this one thing, I don't like it. It's a little bit off. What if like nobody notices? Like who's going to see anyway? It's it's this little thing that I need to do right, that if I do this consistently, if I make those cold calls, it'll end up working out for me in the end. It's so awesome to think, dude, like you're 20,
Mm-hmm.
I'm 20.
19.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. Like we're so young, bro. I'm so excited to see what you're going to do, but also like everybody our age, like we're growing up, we're the next generation, which is really weird to think about, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at this point, we'll wrap it up. Thank you, man. Like, this has been great. Okay. Anticlimactic, whatever. But thank you, brother, for coming on. This was a lot of fun. Learned a lot. And for all of you guys listening, thank you. Greatly appreciate it. And stay tuned for next week for our next episode. Thank you, guys.